Welcome to the Carter Johnson Library and Collections House of Phoenix Annex. I'm Lady Katarina, the greeter for this annex, and also your tour guide for today. How did this annex get started? First of all, as somebody who's been a lover of books since they were a child, always made it important to have a pile of books by their bed or on the bookshelf to read. My mom made it she made it as a gesture to make sure that people who would not be able to tell her kids what they could and could not read. So she made sure she bought the classics, the books that were being banned. And so that I grew up reading them. I was reading Shakespeare at the age of 12. I've read Uncle Tom's Cabin, Bambi, Scarlet Leather, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. Many books that, for some reasons, we probably would not realize they were banned for whatever reason. Others we do realize why they're banned. So I grew up for a love of banned books and as well as topics of censorship. Over the years, I got my PhD in divinity. I'm a licensed ordained minister, priestess. I'm also a former sex worker. So, throughout my training in schools and everything, I had a short stint in the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where I was also trained to not only be a librarian, but be a genealogist. I worked at the Family History Library in Salt Lake, as well as the BYU Family History Library. And so I was given avenues which I never thought I would actually be able to use in a practical setting. Fast forward to 2017. Yeah, 2017. I did a road trip. First of all, actually, let's backtrack. I'm a leather woman. I'm a two-spirit indigenous leather woman who is who's very humbled that my leather journey is a second skin for myself. It's allowed me to not only appreciate the community, the camaraderie, the love, the connections that the community brings together. It allows me to find an identity within myself that broadens not only the mind, but the body, spirit as well. Being a leather woman is all about not only about the connections. It's not about the BDSM, even though that is great. It is about honoring and cherishing and respecting one another in different power exchanges. It's been a role that's allowed me to be able to challenge my own perceptions on how I communicate with people and how I interact with people in a way that allows me to effectively give and take. And that's very hard with somebody with Asperger's, to recognize social cues, to recognize power exchanges going on. And so the leather community has been a very big part of my life. Now, in 2017, I was driving cross country to pick up my husband's father's ashes. And I got friends of ours who were a previous triad of my husband's introduced me to Mama Vi Johnson with the Carter Johnson Library and Collection. Little did I know this event was going to change my life. I got to see the collection, I got to feel it, I got to smell it, I got to be part of it when the collection was still in storage units. It was a wonderful opportunity to see the care and the love of books that will also often be thrown in the fire, burned, or banned. Books that are usually that would be censored. And what a wonderful collection that was. While I was familiar with the Center for Sex and Culture in California, in San Francisco, California, it wasn't until and I've been part of that library, but it wasn't until after this trip with Mom Vi that door opened up for me to be a librarian. I was approached to be the head librarian for the Center for Sex and Culture. And when I said yes, it was a beautiful opportunity to not only do with work with things that I love, which are books, but also work with people and talk about sex and talk about the camaraderie and culture around sex, religion, and history. So I received that job beginning of 2018. And by the end of 2018, we found out that we were being gentrified out of our place. Our rent raised from $7,000 to $10,000 to $14,000 in 2 years. And we could no longer keep our collection. Harvard, after searching many different schools, Harvard bought part of our collection. They bought our archive. They bought the Patrick Clifford collection, the Branta, and several other collections. Why did I think of it? It doesn't matter. Another collection went to the one, but during the time trying to figure out what we're going to be doing with our collection, is because of the service I did and as a librarian and as a volunteer, I was given the option of taking whatever books I wanted for my own collection as a payment for the thank you for all the work I've done. Being a former sex worker, being a priestess, the books that were important to me were that of sex workers, which I have a huge collection of that. Also, the sex and religion books were important. The books on transgender, intersex, two-spirit books were important, as well as, of course, LGBT books in general. And then continue working with the sex and history, sex and art. And these things were a wonderful way to honor my heritage and history, to share with the public and share with other people what collection there are out there to make sure that it be protected. While there's other institutes that deal with sex and kink, especially here in Indiana, we could not, due to the public charter of the organization, be able to give them the books, because we would not know what would happen to them if anything comes done with them being a public institution. So afterwards, after I was already chosen books, during one of our ops meetings, I had the wonderful option of advocating for the rest of the collection to go to the Carter Johnson Library and Collection here in Evansville, Indiana. I gave a call to Mama Vi, let her know this is what we want to do. She about shit herself. And when she regained her posters and everything, say, okay, we can do this. How are we going to do it? It's going to be done. So January of, actually the beginning of February 2019, we loaded a U-Haul truck, a 24-foot U-Haul truck, with over 220 boxes of books, and brought it here to Evansville, Indiana for the Carter Johnson Library and Collection, which resides in the building literally right next door to this house right here. And in doing so, I was given the offer of being inherited with the library. Was offered the house that we're currently have the annex in right here that we're standing in. And in September, we brought the annex, the books, myself, our animals, my husband, over here to Evansville, Indiana, and we became a part of, very essential part of the library. Not only as me being a librarian for the library, but also the books being a collection. While we have 9 annexes throughout the world, having another annex that focuses on certain topics that the main library doesn't necessarily focus on. Again, we have sex work, we have sex and religion, we have sex and history, we have sex and Nazism, leather and kink. We also focus on being Native American. We focus on the two-spirit side of the Native American. Also raising Native voices and raising Black voices. So the collection is huge. It's always growing. It's a wonderful compilation of over 2,500 books. We also have a fiction section of books on the other side here. But it's a wonderful opportunity, always growing, always encouraging and educating people and mind-blowing them when they learn about these books actually exist. And the great thing about them is it's never again the landfill, never again the flames, never again censorship. These books here allow me to do what my mom instilled in us in the very beginning, not letting people tell you what you can and cannot read. And having that education component and making that available to everyone else far and wide to come and utilize these books, us scholars, friends, family, institutions, is what the purpose is about. And I'm grateful to be able to be the librarian, not only for the Center for Sex and Culture, the former librarian for the Center for Sex and Culture, but the librarian for the Carl Johnson Library Collection and also the House of Phoenix Annex.